Lucas hated my guts. But after he came back to the States, he was the one who wanted to make peace. James, let's start over. That little brat spent every day pretending to be sweet, pretending to be in love. Until the earthquake hit. We were pinned under the same massive block of stone. He sneered, his voice cold. You really are an idiot, James. I tricked you into losing everything, and you still want to save me? Blood pooled beneath me. So I said, my voice hoarse, you really do hate me that much. The stone wouldn't budge. Only one of us was getting out of this alive. So when the rescuers came, I didn't call for help. I just whispered to him, I'm sick. I was gonna die soon anyway. My life, in exchange for yours. Then you won't be angry anymore, will you? When the earthquake happened, Lucas and I were on a business trip overseas. The middle of the night. The hotel began to shake violently without any warning, then collapsed in an instant. Amid the nightmarish tremors and deafening roars, I remember Lucas grabbing my hand. James, wake up, James. My consciousness shot up from the depths of the ocean. Before I could answer, I choked on the thick dust. Oh, so you're still alive? Lucas said suddenly in the darkness. His tone wasn't disappointed, but it was unnaturally cold. I was still reeling from the shock of the disaster. Was that an earthquake? I asked dazedly. Yes. Lucas yelled help. A few times, but there was no response. We're going to die here, he said, his voice raspy. No, we're not. I tried to mimic the reassuring tone he always used to trick me. We're still alive right now, so there's hope, I encouraged him. Pull yourself together. Someone will be here to rescue us soon. Then I asked him, can you move? Do you have any feeling in your arms and legs? The words came out too fast. A sharp pain shot through my chest. My breathing sounded heavy and ragged in the small space, tinged with the faint smell of blood. A rib must have broken and punctured a lung. I slowed my breathing, swallowing a pained groan. I looked at Lucas through a crack in the rubble. We weren't far apart, pinned at opposite ends of the same concrete slab. A sliver of moonlight shone through a hole in the wreckage, illuminating the tiny mole on the bridge of his high nose. Lucas blinked. He let out a cold laugh. In a situation like this, I really can't keep up the act, he said. James, this is where it ends for us. Was it over? But he hadn't even gotten what he wanted yet. 6 months ago, Lucas came back and asked me to take him back. James, let's start over. Of course, I knew why he was doing it. To legally swindle me out of all my assets and company shares. For revenge. I tucked the brain cancer diagnosis into my pocket and told him. Okay. The silly kid had no idea I was playing him, too. Because all my assets were meant to go to him in the end anyway. I thought this charade would last until the illness took me. By then, Lucas would have everything he wanted. And before I died, I would get to have him, even if it was just a fleeting, false possession. We'd both get what we wanted. Perfect arrangement. But now all of that had been shattered. The sirens and screams sounded like they were coming from far away. None of it felt real. Can't end, I mumbled. It's not time yet. Lucas heard me. What did you say? He asked, frowning. A sharp pain flared in my chest again, jolting me into focus. I don't know what you were just talking about, I said, playing dumb. If you had half a brain, Mr. CEO, you would have realized you were being played by now. Lucas's voice was casual. Do you need me to spell it out for you? He said, that supplier I had you come here to inspect? It's mine. All our previous deals were just a way to tie up your cash flow and bankrupt you. And that multi-million-dollar loan you gave me? I deliberately messed up the paperwork. It's not legally binding. I closed my eyes. You don't have to say any more, I said softly. But Lucas wouldn't stop. The only reason I got back together with you was to see you ruined, to leave you with nothing. It wasn't because... He paused, then continued. There was no other reason. I watched the dust clinging to his still youthful eyebrows and lashes. No other reason like what? I asked calmly. Then I deliberately teased him, smiling. Couldn't forget me after 6 years. Huh? There's a thin line between love and hate. Looks like you used to be really in love with me. Ha! Lucas scoffed. James, you're flattering yourself, he mocked. I came back for revenge. not to love you. Got it? My lips moved, but no sound came out. The pain in my head and chest merged into one. I wanted to beg him to stop talking, or just to keep lying to me. Just lie to me a little longer. You'll be free of me soon enough. I managed a weak smile. I got it, I said, my voice bitter. After a few seconds of silence, I wiggled my trapped fingertips. You came all this way back just to get revenge on me because you were mad that I didn't love you enough back then, right? I said, trying to fool myself. Otherwise, why would my hand still be wrapped in yours? Lucas frowned and tried to yank his arm away, to pull his hand free. But before he could, a sickening crunch echoed from deep within the ruins. Love? Lucas stopped moving. His voice turned to ice. Is that supposed to be something special? James, you're so full of yourself. Your love is worthless. Your love is worthless. I said those exact words to Lucas 6 years ago. My father had just passed away. The rest of the Shin family immediately ganged up to undermine my position in the company, trying to force me out. After a few man-made accidents happened when Lucas was with me, I decided to send him abroad. Lucas, the Shin family has raised you for 14 years. We've done enough. I'll give you one last sum of money. Now go, and don't ever come back. Lucas's parents died when he was 8, and he came to live with us. Even though he was 6 years younger than me, he always protected me like a reckless wolf cub. The boy who'd never let anyone push him around stood before me, defeated. His eyes were bloodshot. I'm not leaving. James, if I'm going to die, I'll die with you. I slapped him across the face. Don't be a damn fool. I hissed. Can you stop being so childish? What good would you be if you stayed? Lucas's jaw was tight. A trickle of blood seeped from the corner of his pressed lips. I'm 22. I can do anything for you. He lowered his head, his voice so quiet it was almost a plea. James, please don't get rid of me. Do you have money? I clenched my fists, forcing myself to look him in the eye. Can you help me land a major deal? Help me solidify my position in the company? Lucas froze, as if he'd been nailed to the spot. The sadness in his eyes instantly hardened into cold, dark resentment. I can't do that right now. So you're dumping me to marry that heiress from the Miller family. That's right, I said, each word deliberate. Now go, Lucas. Your love is worthless to me. And Lucas really did leave. But 6 years later, he came back. He was alive and well, but he was no longer that defiant boy who was only ever vulnerable in front of me. I had broken his heart. He'd been forced to become mature, ruthless, and cold. And he had a good memory, too. He threw my own words back at me, verbatim. My love isn't worthless now, though, I retorted, teasing him with a hint of playfulness. As long as we don't end things, I'll transfer all of my company shares to you, for free. How about that? But Lucas was furious. You think I care about that? James, I'm not like you. You only love money. I came back to prove you wrong. Someone like you doesn't deserve to be loved. It's not about the money. I started to argue. A deep rumble suddenly came from beneath the ground. The world began to shake again. It's an aftershock, Lucas yelled, shutting his eyes. I clenched my jaw, fighting the excruciating pain of my organs being crushed over and over. After 10 or so seconds, the shaking stopped. Why is it wet here? Lucas's hand, still holding mine, shifted. He frowned. James, are you bleeding? The aftershock widened the gap in the rubble above Lucas's head. A large patch of moonlight fell across his face, making his sharp features seem as if they were edged in silver. I watched him quietly for a few seconds before curling my eyes into a smile. Are you worried about me? Lucas looked over at me, his eyes full of malicious glee. He smirked. Of course. After all, I haven't quite managed to trick you out of every last penny and see you on your knees, begging. It would be pretty boring if you died now, wouldn't it? So, Lucas really didn't love me anymore. For a moment, I couldn't feel any pain. A huge part of me suddenly felt empty, like a cold wind was blowing right through it. I shivered slightly. This is fine, I thought numbly. If he doesn't love me, at least he won't be sad. And if he's still angry, seeing the contents of my will should calm him down. It's probably a broken water pipe, I said hoarsely. I just can't move my lower body. It doesn't really hurt anymore. I don't care if you're in pain or not. Lucas cut me off coldly. James, when I was hurting 6 years ago, did you ever care? I did care. I cared so much that I thought about the look in his eyes, his expression, the tremor in his voice that day, every single day. I pushed down the stabbing pain in my chest. I'm sorry, I said, my voice raw. Don't be, Lucas replied flippantly. Besides, I've made you hurt plenty since I got back. Watching you grit your teeth in bed. Now that was satisfying. My breath caught. My heart felt like it had missed a step. I was suddenly ashamed. But I still asked, were you doing it on purpose? Purposefully demanding, purposefully hurting me. Yeah. Lucas's reply was laced with icy hatred. Every time I kissed you, what I really wanted to do was sink my teeth into your neck. So that's how it was. No wonder he always accidentally bit my lips until they bled. I laughed at myself. My mind drifted to our first kiss. It was a snowy December night in the city. I'd ended my trip early and came home to find someone in my room. I walked in silently without turning on the lights. In the dimness, Lucas was standing by the desk near the window, stealing the half-smoked cigar I'd left there. The damn kid didn't even smoke. His hand trembled as he lit it. The flame illuminated half his face, defiant, yet vulnerable. Suddenly, he whipped his head around and saw me, then started coughing violently. I calmly walked over and took the cigar from his hand. You're supposed to inhale, dummy. The flame flickered. I suddenly pressed my lips to his, breathing the gray smoke into his lungs like a tide. Lucas's whole body was trembling. Don't know how to smoke? I chuckled. And you don't know how to kiss either? Harder. But the silly boy was still so careful. He pressed his forehead against mine and whispered, I don't want to hurt you. He said, James, I'm afraid you'll fly away if I even breathe too hard. Then he held me tight. I guess I'll never be held like that again. Clatter. A few small stones fell from the rubble above. I snapped out of my memories. I heard Lucas shout, someone's here. We're going to be saved. Lucas started yelling for help over and over. The sound of footsteps grew closer. My heart began to pound uncontrollably. A few seconds later, a terrified face appeared in the gap above Lucas. It was a local woman. She was crying, shouting something I couldn't understand before quickly moving on. The ruins fell silent again. Probably looking for her family, I said, trying to sound casual to hide my disappointment. The rescue team must be nearby. They'll be here soon. I asked again, do your arms and legs have feeling? Can you move them? Are you hurt anywhere? Lucas was quiet for a moment, then moved his body with all his might. Only one side is pinned, he said in a low voice. I can barely move the other. Then use your free hand to feel around. See if there's anything useful nearby. The debris above us was unstable, making tiny, constant noises. We thought help would come quickly, but the situation seemed more serious than we imagined. We had to find a way to signal for help. Fast. Lucas fumbled around for a moment. I found a phone, he said suddenly. He carefully dug it out from the debris. It still works, he shouted. But after dialing a few numbers, he added, no signal. Can't make a call. It's okay, I said, trying to rally my spirits. See if you can turn on the flashlight. I can. Good. Now shine it through the gap and wave it around in a steady rhythm. As I watched him do it, I suddenly thought of the Lucas from long ago. I wanted to say, just like I used to, you're such a good boy, Lucas. You're such a good boy, Lucas. Years and years ago, I used to pat his head and praise him just like that. I was probably the only person in the world who would use the word good to describe Lucas. After Lucas grew up, he was almost 6'3", with broad shoulders and long legs. He rarely smiled. One cold glance from him was like being sized up by a hawk or a wolf. But I think Lucas was truly different with me. He would wait for me to get home every night before he'd eat. He'd carefully pick out the scallions, ginger, and garlic I didn't like ahead of time. Idelau. You're such a good boy, Lucas. Lucas would look away, his face blank. I was just bored. If I had to go to a work dinner, he'd sit in the living room with a bowl of hangover soup, waiting for me late into the night. Me, you're such a good boy, Lucas. Lucas. I just couldn't sleep. Once, as I was leaving, I casually mentioned, it's been a while since I had that brioche from the little bakery downtown. He ran all the way there to buy it. Then he waited for me to come home and handed it to me, pretending it was no big deal. Bought it on the way. I reached up and ruffled his hair, teasing him again. You're such a good boy, Lucas. I'd watch the tips of his ears turn bright red and, out of pure mischief, I'd chase him around, repeating it over and over. You're such a good boy, Lucas. You're such a good boy. Lucas. 6 years ago, when he turned his back on me and left for a foreign country all alone, I had said it in my heart then, too. But from that moment on, I was never happy again. The blood loss was making me tired and cold. What about this time? I thought sluggishly. This time, I'm the one who's leaving. Then it hit me. Lucas didn't love me anymore. When someone you don't love leaves, it surely doesn't hurt as much as it hurt me 6 years ago. So I smiled. My Lucas, we'll be happy from now on, I murmured, as if in a dream. Lucas seemed to snap out of his own memories. He suddenly stopped waving the light, as if he'd been stung. He turned his head and said coldly, "Don't call me that like you used to. It's disgusting," and cut the parental act. As soon as I get out of here alive, I'm going to become the majority shareholder of Shincorp. Let's see you try to be a hypocrite in front of me then. A hypocrite? So that's what Lucas thought of me. I should have been sad. But I didn't have the strength to be sad anymore. The pain was starting to dull. I think I really was dying. Suddenly, a rustling sound approached quickly. The rubble trembled slightly. Then, someone lifted a slab of stone from above Lucas's head. "Hello, we're the rescue team," they said. "Don't be afraid. We'll have you out of here soon." Just as I was about to speak up, I heard one of the rescuers say in Dutch, "The concrete slab on this man is huge. We can't get heavy machinery in here right now. We'll have to use a hydraulic jack to pry up his side. I just hope there's no one pinned on the other end, or we'll be faced with an impossible choice." Or what? My mind was foggy. Or the person on the other side is already dead. Is that it? Slowly, very gently, I looked at Lucas. He didn't understand Dutch, so he was calmly answering the rescuer's questions in English. His expression was composed, his answers concise. I stared at him, not blinking, listening to his deep, slightly hoarse voice. I suddenly remembered the car crash 6 years ago. It was snowing in the city that day. After a board meeting, I went to pick Lucas up from college, as usual. Halfway there, I noticed the truck in front of us seemed to be deliberately boxing me in. Every time I tried to change lanes and speed up, it would swerve to block me. The truck had no license plate and its windows were tinted. In the back, it was carrying dozens of steel rebar rods. "James, pull over," Lucas said suddenly from the passenger seat. I had a bad feeling, too. But in the next second, a Jeep sped up from behind and slammed into us. Crash. Our car rear ended the truck hard. The rebar in the truck bed shot through the windshield, heading straight for my eyes. In that split second, I slammed on the brakes with all my strength and yanked the wheel. At almost the exact same time, Lucas threw himself over me, shielding me with his body. When I opened my eyes, I saw his blood. A steel rod had grazed his neck and impaled the driver's seat. The wound was nearly 4 inches long and gaping. Blood instantly stained his collar red. I was stunned for a few seconds. Then I erupted. "Lucas, are you fucking crazy or just stupid? Did you just try to get yourself killed?" Lucas didn't say a word, just let me scream at him. He just kept staring at me while they stitched up his wound at the hospital, staring at me on the way home. I woke up in the middle of the night, and there he was, standing over my bed like a ghost, still staring. I couldn't take it anymore. "What is wrong with you?" I yelled. "Go back to your room and sleep." He was stubborn as a mule, didn't move an inch. Defeated, I shifted over. "Fine, don't leave. Get in." As I was about to fall asleep, I felt him hold me tight. In a daze, I heard Lucas's hurt, choked-up voice. "James, if you dare to die, I'll haunt you for the rest of my life." My consciousness drifted. I heard Lucas's voice again. "Wake up, James, please wait. There's another person trapped with me. James, James. I kept my eyes closed. I could sense a light moving in front of them. The rescue team was using a flashlight to check my position. When I didn't open my eyes or react, Lucas let out a cold snort. What's this? Giving up the Good Samaritan act and playing unconscious now? He taunted. You can't be stupid enough to think they'll rescue you first if you do this. Can you? I wasn't thinking that, and I had no intention of leaving first. The light disappeared. The rescue team was busy clearing the debris from the opening, no longer paying attention to me. I slowly opened my eyes and looked at Lucas's face. I used a tiny, tiny voice, one that only he could hear. That time, during the car crash, when you protected me, you did love me then, didn't you? Lucas froze for a few seconds. The Shin family raised me for 14 years, he said, his tone detached. I was just repaying a debt. Love you? He stared at me. Never, he said, each word a deliberate, provocative jab. I think I smiled. Or maybe I couldn't manage one. So that's how it was. That's good, I told myself. My body was completely cold. The pain had faded. The rescue team had almost cleared all the rubble from above Lucas. I didn't have much time left. One last look. Just one. Lucas. I mouthed his name silently. But it was as if he heard me. He looked up and met my eyes. Slowly, I breathed the words out to him. Thank you. If it wasn't love, then I should be even more grateful. Thank you for waiting up for me every night. Thank you for memorizing everything I like and dislike. Thank you for caring about every word I ever said. Thank you for throwing yourself in front of me during the crash, for not even caring about your own life. Thank you for being obedient and going abroad, allowing me to deal with those old bastards without any distractions. Thank you for coming back to me after 6 years. When I was terminally ill and in so much pain, you gave me a long, beautiful dream. You made me think that my life had no regrets. As Lucas watched me, I slowly closed my eyes again. 2 rescuers carefully lowered themselves through the hole and approached Lucas. Sir, please hang in there, one of them said. We need to use a hydraulic tool to lift the slab off you. The pressure release might cause severe pain, so please don't. What did you say? Lucas cut him off sharply. If you do that, the pressure on the other end of the slab will increase tenfold. Didn't you see there's someone else under there? The rescuer was silent for a few seconds. I'm very sorry, sir, he said regretfully. With the frequent aftershocks and a gas leak from a ruptured pipe nearby, we can't use heavy machinery. We have to dig by hand. Besides, another foreign rescuer added, that man appears to be in much worse condition than you. He's lost a lot of blood and is already unconscious. Bullshit, Lucas suddenly shouted. He was awake the whole time. He was just talking to me. Where's the blood? Even if there is, it's someone else's. Please calm down, sir, the rescuer soothed. Getting agitated could be dangerous for you. James. Lucas acted as if he hadn't heard a word. He yelled my name. Open your eyes. Right now. I held my breath. An ache spread from my eyes all the way to my heart. Hot tears welled up and trickled down my temples. Lucas, say my name again. Just a few more times. But, can you not be so harsh? Lucas's furious shouts stopped abruptly, replaced by a violent coughing fit. The rescue team sped up their work, positioning the hydraulic jack to lift the slab off Lucas. The machine began to hum. Soon, I heard the sound of my own bones breaking. The air was squeezed out of my lungs inch by inch. I clenched my fists, not making a sound. Lucas was still staring at me, suppressing his coughs, yelling at the rescuers to stop. James, why are you pretending to be asleep? He choked out. What kind of game are you playing now? Don't think this will make me go soft. I don't believe you. The jack reached its maximum height. My body convulsed violently. A gush of blood poured from my lips. I opened my eyes and saw Lucas's expression freeze in horror. Lucas stared at me, his eyes wide, as if my blood had seared them. They turned a frightening shade of red. The rescuers applied a quick bandage and started moving him out. Suddenly, I felt a tug on my fingers. It was Lucas. He was still holding my hand tightly. It's probably because we were pinned for so long, I thought. He can't let go. I wiggled my fingertips, trying to use my last bit of strength to pull my hand free. But in the next second, Lucas's grip tightened. His expression was blank, rigid. His lips parted, and he shook his head with a slight, trembling motion. I'd seen that subconscious, refusing gesture before. Right after we'd gotten back together, Lucas had been insatiable, as if trying to vent his anger, and had left marks all over my body. At the office, my VP, who I was close with, happened to see a bruise on my neck. "That kid Lucas plays rough." "Huh?" he teased. I adjusted my collar and smiled faintly. "The kid's got some anger to work through. It'll pass. You spoiled him when he was a kid, and you're still spoiling him now?" My VP said. "How long are you going to keep coddling him?" What did I say back then? I think it was, "Until one of us is gone." When I got home that day, Lucas called my name and pressed me down again. I had no fight left in me. I smiled and stroked the back of his neck. "Don't call me that anymore. I'm about to break. From now on, I'll call you sir. Okay?" Lucas's body tensed. He buried his head in my chest and gave that same little shake of his head. "No," he said, his voice stubborn but laced with hurt. Now, looking into Lucas's crimson eyes, I thought numbly, "This time I really am leaving." The rescuers kept telling Lucas to relax his body, but he stubbornly held onto my hand. For a moment, the man before me seemed to transform back into the boy who had held me so tightly in his sleep after the car crash. Back then, I don't think I comforted him. I'll do it now. For the last time, I struggled to curve my eyes into a smile, trying to tell him it was okay, that it didn't matter. I was sick. I was going to die anyway, but I couldn't make a sound. I could only form the words with my lips. The next second, my hand finally slipped from Lucas's grasp. The rescue team worked together to pull him away. My palm was empty. My hand fell onto the blood-soaked rubble with a barely audible thud. But Lucas's whole body jolted as if struck. A raw, broken sound tore from his throat. My remaining consciousness was rapidly dissolving. I couldn't understand what he was saying anymore. He was getting farther and farther away, being taken to a place of safety and light. That's good. From now on, I thought with a sense of peace as I fell into darkness, Lucas won't be angry with me anymore, will he? He'll get better soon. He'll get everything he wants. He'll live a peaceful, happy life. Everything that happened today, he'll eventually forget, including me. My soul drifted through layers of mist, pulled by some invisible force, until it returned to Lucas's side. He had just woken up from a brief spell of unconsciousness, his eyes opening in confusion. Suddenly, he leaped off the stretcher and ran out of the tent, but his legs were badly injured. He collapsed after just a few steps. A white volunteer with a Red Cross armband ran over and helped him up. "The doctor said you can't move, or you'll be permanently disabled," he said sternly. Lucas seemed not to hear him. He grabbed the volunteer's sleeve. "Where's James? Did he just dump me here and run off?" "I don't know." The volunteer shook his head, frowning. He pointed toward the rising sun. "But after the rescue team brought you here, they went back to that area to keep digging. You could wait, maybe." Lucas, with a sudden burst of strength, shoved the volunteer away and staggered toward the ruins. After a few steps, large patches of blood seeped through the white bandages on his legs. The new sun rose, illuminating the field of rubble. Halfway there, Lucas fell again. He struggled to get back up, muttering through gritted teeth, "James, you won't get away from me. You won't." The morning light cast a long shadow behind him. I followed him, hiding in his shadow. He couldn't find me. He was practically crawling by the end. Finally, Lucas reached the ruins of the hotel where we'd been buried. A rescuer stopped him. "Sir, it's dangerous here. Please stay back." Lucas struggled to his feet and grabbed the man's collar. "Did James pay you? Did he have you get me out first so he could ditch me, is that it?" The rescuer recognized him. "Are you two friends?" he asked, looking troubled. "I'm very sorry for what happened." The Dutch-speaking volunteer came over and said a few words to the rescuer Lucas was holding. The rescuer nodded and translated for Lucas. Excuse me, does your friend understand Dutch? Lucas nodded blankly, then asked angrily, did he run off to the Netherlands? I'm very sorry, the rescuer said. Our volunteer here says your friend must have overheard what he said at the opening of the crevice, that only one of you could survive. So, he likely gave up his chance to live on purpose so that we could get you out as fast as possible. Lucas stared, as if he couldn't comprehend the words. Then he laughed abruptly. How is that possible? He shook his head and stumbled back a few steps. Ha ha ha. As if he'd just heard the world's most hilarious joke, Lucas laughed hysterically. Impossible. No way. Why would James die for me? I'm the last person he'd ever care about. He must have paid you to say this. He's not even in the rubble anymore. With that, Lucas charged straight toward the ruins. When the Dutch volunteer blocked his path, he roared, "What did you say? What did you say back then?" Another rescuer pulled him away and translated the words I had heard. Suddenly, a voice called out from the wreckage, "Captain, we've got the other victim out." From a distance, I saw my own body being carried out of the crevice by several rescuers. I lay quietly on the stretcher, like a blood-stained, dirty fallen leaf. Lucas's eyes were wide, unblinking. He suddenly shoved away the person holding him back and limped toward me. He couldn't walk properly, stumbling and falling every few steps. By the time he reached me, he was covered in dust and scrapes. He looked down at me, at my pale, sleeping face. Then he saw my mangled, crushed chest and abdomen. "I'm sorry," a rescuer said regretfully. "He's already passed away." "James?" Lucas seemed not to hear him. He just tilted his head, looking at me with a puzzled expression. "Why are you here?" he asked softly. He reached out to touch me, but his hand stopped, trembling, in mid-air. "Does it hurt?" he whispered. A rescuer covered my body with a white sheet. Lucas ripped it off. "What are you doing? He's still alive," he roared, his face dark. Then Lucas bent down to pick me up, but he couldn't bear any weight. He quickly tumbled to the ground, taking me with him. My hand bumped against his body. Something fell out of my palm. It was a small, white wireless earbud. I had protected it so well that it didn't have a single speck of blood on it. "Mine." Lucas's voice was barely a whisper. "How did you have this?" I stood behind him. "Because," I said silently, "I never stopped caring about you." 6 years ago, Lucas hadn't taken the money I left for him. He went abroad alone, working and studying. Washing dishes, washing cars, working the night shift at a convenience store. The money he earned was barely enough to cover tuition and necessities. He had to rent a place in a very dangerous neighborhood. I bought an apartment near his university. It took going through several intermediaries before I could successfully trick him into renting it at a low price. I was too worried. I flew there the day he was moving in. It was snowing heavily that day. I hid behind the thick trunk of a large sycamore tree and watched him get out of a car with his luggage and walk into the apartment building. Only after the taxi drove away and the light on the second floor came on did I walk over and pick up the single earbud he had dropped getting out of the car. That kid had been so resolute back then. He took nothing with him when he left. But he didn't leave anything behind either. He either donated or threw everything away, as if he didn't want to leave a single trace of himself in my life. So I brought that earbud back with me. I kept it under my pillow. Eventually, I got used to it and took it with me on business trips. The night of the earthquake, Lucas had been so rough that we'd ended up sleeping on the wrong pillows. I waited until he was asleep, then secretly took it out from under the pillow and clutched it in my hand. So close. I was so close to being found out. If Lucas found out that I'd loved him all along, he would be sad when I died. Wouldn't he? I was afraid he'd be sad. And I was afraid he wouldn't be. So it was better that he never knew. Once he got what he wanted, maybe he would do to me what I had done to him, send me packing overseas. Then, I could die without any lingering attachments. That would have been the perfect ending. Not like this, dying a gruesome death, forcing Lucas to discover the truth. But it's okay, because Lucas said he never loved me. So I think he won't be sad. Lucas knelt by my body, refusing to leave. He clutched the white earbud, muttering to himself, "You came to find me, didn't you? Why didn't you tell me? You already kicked me out, so why did you come looking for me? James, get up. Explain yourself. Days turned into nights. My body was now surrounded by many others. Volunteers tried repeatedly to persuade Lucas to leave, but it was no use. He stubbornly stayed by my side. His tone changed from commanding to pleading. James, I don't want anything anymore. The money, the shares, you can have it all back. The company I started overseas, my properties, everything I own is yours. Just get up. He couldn't sit still any longer. He collapsed beside me, like a small child begging for forgiveness. James, get up, he choked out. I won't do it again. Okay? Please get up. I'll listen to you from now on. I won't lie to you. I'll go wherever you want me to go. Please, James. Please get up. The summer heat was intense. The bodies couldn't be left out any longer. 2 workers in white hazmat suits approached Lucas. Sir, please accept our condolences, one said. To prevent a post-disaster epidemic, we must cremate the bodies on site. Please leave immediately. Lucas slowly looked up. No, he said, his response delayed. He's not dead yet. Don't touch him. I'm taking him home. Home. As he spoke, Lucas bent down to hug me. But the wounds on his legs were infected, and he couldn't stand up at all. A worker helped him up and immediately noticed something was wrong. Sir, you have a high fever. He yelled to 2 paramedics. Quick! Take him to the quarantine tent for treatment. The paramedics tried to pry Lucas's hands off my body. Don't touch him. Get away. All of you. Get away. Lucas roared. He threw himself on the ground, shielding my body, refusing to be moved. The commotion drew the attention of passers-by. Lucas. A familiar voice suddenly cut through the noise. It was my company's VP, Mark. He jumped out of a truck that had screeched to a halt and walked over to my body. You bastard, Lucas. Mark suddenly swung his fist, hitting Lucas hard across the face. He glared at Lucas, his eyes red with rage. If you have an ounce of humanity left, give James some dignity, he snarled. Lucas didn't fight back at all, just let Mark hit and curse him. He glanced at Mark, then watched numbly as the workers carried my body away. Mark grabbed him by the collar and hauled him up. What's with the lovesick act now? He demanded viciously. If you hadn't tricked him into coming here, would he be dead? He gave you the assets, the shares, wasn't that enough? Why did you have to take his life too? Lucas seemed to have been beaten speechless. The bones seemed to have been pulled from his body. He was like a puppet as Mark threw him onto a stretcher and let the doctors take him away. Lucas couldn't close his eyes. He felt no pain. Not until Mark walked over to him holding an urn. Lucas's bloodshot eyes twitched. He shakily raised a hand, wanting to hold my ashes. But Mark took a small step back, leaving Lucas's hand frozen in mid-air. Lucas, he said, his voice glacial, you don't deserve to touch him again. If your life wasn't the one James traded his own for, I swear I would have left you here to rot. Mark looked down at Lucas. But dying would be too easy for you, he continued. Besides, there's still a lot you don't know. What? Truth? Lucas's voice was rough and raspy. His dark eyes flickered. He tried to pull himself up, to grab onto Mark. Mark just flicked his hand, and Lucas fell off the cot. The wounds on his legs started bleeding again. The 4 needle came out of his arm, leaving a long, bloody scratch. Mark watched him coldly. I really don't get why James loved you for so many years. 6 years ago, he was terrified the rest of the family would hurt you, terrified he would drag you down with him, so he forced you to go abroad. He ignored Lucas's shocked expression and went on. 6 years later, the moment he gets sick, you come running back. Terminal brain cancer, Lucas. He let you bully him while dragging that body around, pretending he didn't know you were deliberately tricking him, tormenting him. Do you have any idea what he was thinking? Do you know how much pain he was in? Lucas lay on the floor, his body racked with violent tremors. He looked up. He came to see me, didn't he? He mumbled. More than just see you, Mark said coldly. He flew back and forth at least 20 times in those 6 years. You couldn't afford rent, so he bought an apartment and hired a middleman to rent it to you for cheap. You couldn't find investors for your startup, So he had a business partner anonymously invest $50 million in you. You thought James was heartless and only cared about money? You were wrong. He only cared about you. You're the heartless one. Only you. Lucas looked as if he'd been hit over the head with a club. He was completely stunned. After a moment, he lowered his head. So, he found my earbud, he murmured dazedly. He was bleeding the whole time, and I knew nothing. I called him an idiot, worthless. I even said, I never loved him, that I didn't believe him. I'm so stupid, so stupid. Lucas's expression was vacant as he seemed to carefully replay every word we'd said while we were trapped. Stop thinking about it, I wanted to say. Don't think about it anymore. It doesn't matter. It's over. But Lucas kept thinking, muttering to himself, until he suddenly coughed, spitting up a mouthful of blood. Mark strode over and hauled him back onto the cot. You're not allowed to die. You bastard, he snarled. Dying would be letting you off too easy. He stared into Lucas's half-closed, lifeless eyes. You don't know yet, do you? James had his will drawn up a long time ago. You little punk, are the sole heir to his entire fortune. You're not just you anymore. You're James's legacy. If you betray his last wishes, he will never forgive you. As soon as he finished speaking, Lucas's body went into violent convulsions. Doctors rushed in to save him. But Lucas's gaze never left the urn in Mark's arms. My urn. On the private jet back home with Mark, Lucas still couldn't stand on his own. On the plane, Lucas's face was ashen. When can you give him to me? He asked Mark in a hoarse voice. Mark glanced down at the urn in his arms. Lucas, he said mockingly, do you think you deserve him? You didn't cherish him when he was alive. What's the point of this sappy act now? Seeing the color drain from Lucas's face and the slump of his shoulders, Mark's expression turned cold. Fine, you can have him, but only after you've taken over the company and proven you can run it properly. After a short silence, Lucas said, deal. As soon as the plane landed, Lucas insisted on going to the office. Mark shoved him into a car. You'd better start taking care of yourself. If you dare to work yourself to death, I'll scatter James's ashes to the wind. He enjoyed the sight of Lucas's face turning red with rage for a few seconds. To the hospital, he told the driver. During his hospital stay, Lucas begged Mark to bring him company files. By the time he was discharged, his legs still couldn't support him, but he had a complete grasp of the company's situation. He learned everything about what had happened 6 years ago. He got a copy of my medical records. He even found the contracts for the apartment I bought him and the records of the anonymous investment. He moved into my room, slept in my bed. Every night he slept in my clothes. He covered the mole on his nose. He canceled his phone number and started using mine. He studied my past, mimicking all my habits. It was as if Lucas was trying to forge a new version of me, or as if he was trying to live for me. After some time, rumors spread through the company and the industry. Shin Corp's new chairman may be a cripple, but he's not to be underestimated. He's decisive and ruthless. In just 3 years, he took the company public, nearly monopolizing the domestic manufacturing sector. But even on the day of the IPO, no one ever saw him smile. Only in rare moments would a flicker of loneliness and pain escape his eyes. Lucas's insomnia grew worse. For 3 years, the dosage of his sedatives steadily increased. He was like a bowstring being pulled tighter and tighter, nearing its breaking point. I watched him silently. Sometimes, I even started to wonder if I shouldn't have died for him, because I could feel it. Lucas was in too much pain. Every breath he took was like torture. James, wait for me. He would always say this late at night. Not long after, Lucas got sick. Mark brought my urn to see him. You can have this now, he said. The company is doing well. I'm leaving it all to you. I have to go now, too. Lucas lay in the hospital bed. He grabbed Mark's arm, his voice weak. No, I only want him. The company is yours. I'm dying. A faint smile touched Lucas's lips, but tears streamed down his face. It hurts so much to be alive. Every day, I can feel the pain of the slab crushing him. I can feel the weight that was on me, all of it crashing down on him. Lucas turned on his side, curling his back and cradling the urn in his arms, just like he had cradled me during the car crash. He closed his eyes. His body, which had been spasming in pain, gradually grew still. "James," he said with his last breath, "wait for me." I don't know how much time passed. Maybe a few seconds, maybe many years. When I opened my eyes again, I was a little kid. Everything around me was familiar yet strange. I walked and walked through a crowded street, not knowing where I was going. Suddenly, a familiar voice called out from behind me, "James." I turned around and saw a very tall older boy running toward me. He looked like he had been searching for me for a very long time. His brow was furrowed, and he was sweating. I immediately froze, watching him with wide eyes, afraid I was about to get in trouble. But he wasn't angry at all. He just knelt down and gently hugged me. "Don't be scared," he said, his voice trembling. "It's me, your big brother. I found you." I think I had forgotten I had a big brother. But at the same time, it felt like I had known him forever. I looked at his face and saw a tiny mole on the bridge of his nose. I reached out a finger and gently touched it. "Brother?" I said. He froze. His eyes suddenly turned very red. "Yes, it's me," he said, his voice choked with emotion. "I found you. I'll protect you from now on. Forever. I'll protect you."